Hey, and welcome to Lore Bytes. In this series, I break down Overwatch lore and story topics for you simply and quickly, so you don't have to do the digging. For these videos, I round up all sources of known canon Overwatch lore and add some speculation too. Speculation will be flagged as such, otherwise assume all of this is canon lore from sources, which I'll cite as well. In this episode, we're delving deeper into what we know about the US Soldier Enhancement Program, a classified US government project that would indirectly shape the future of the Overwatch world, both in defeating the First Omnic Crisis and in bringing together two key figures in Overwatch's story. Firstly, what was the Soldier Enhancement Program? When the First Omnic Crisis struck, there was a period of time where each individual nation was fighting it on their own turf and on their own terms. Different solutions and methods were used. Russia had Svietogor mechs, made from Volskaya Industries, as a key part of their defence. Germany used the elite fighting Crusaders in their Crusader armour, and we've learnt this from the BlizzCon Overwatch lore panels in years past. Before the Omnic Crisis, but we're not sure quite how long before, the USA had clearly been developing a Soldier Enhancement Program. The ability to participate in this was coveted, apparently it had to be earned, and it seemed to select both proven soldiers, as in the case of Gabriel Reyes, who was a senior officer at the time, and the presumably younger or less experienced ones, such as Jack Morrison, who had still shown an aptitude for soldiering. This program shaped recruits into the perfect soldiers, blessed with superhuman speed, strength and agility, according to Olympia Shaw of Atlas News. Ultimately, they possessed physical capabilities exceeding those of a conventional soldier, as Soldier 76's bio also tells us. That's roughly what the program was. Now let's have a think about who was involved. The Fading Glory blog, or news article by Olympia Shaw in Universe, gives us a few ideas. Firstly, we learned that the US government and the US military were both somehow involved. Not a massive surprise, but it doesn't sound as though this was a military secret from the government, as some slightly secret research programs are in various comic book stories. We know that Jack Morrison was involved. He was taken in at a young age, he was in the program before long, according to his history in the Fading Glory blog, and he'd only joined the military at 18. Gabriel Reyes, on the other hand, was also involved, but we know he was already a senior officer in the US military. Both Morrison and Reyes' ages are unknown to us precisely at this point. Finally, we know that there were other inductees, but we don't know exactly who or how many. The reason I mention this is that there are, or perhaps were, other enhanced soldiers out there in the world. Something to think about where we run into potential Overwatch heroes, protagonists, members of organisations, and things in the future. How could the program actually have worked? Well, details are scarce. Olympia Shaw's turn of phrase for Atlas News defines the Soldier Enhancement Program as military scientists shaping Morrison and other inductees. I think shaping is probably putting it mildly, a polite turn of phrase, or perhaps Olympia doesn't have the full details. We do have two clues in lore at the moment on what the program may have involved. One's a Soldier 76 interaction with Ana in game since her introduction as a hero. Here it is.
For a man of your years, you're looking pretty good, Jack.
Well, all that stuff they pumped into me has to be good for something.
So we know that Soldier 76 or Morrison has definitely aged, his white hair and scarring and similar, but the stuff being pumped into him does sound like the Soldier Enhancement Program was something to do with drug-type treatments. I'm thinking about this rather than any mechanical augmentations, something like Wolverine having adamantium fused into his skeleton for you Marvel fans. It's worth noting though that in his bio, Soldier 76 is said to have other augmentations that make him a peerless combatant, which sound like they're on top of the Soldier Enhancement Program effects. We've already seen one of these in Ana's eye, in her comic Legacy, and there are plenty of other biomechatronic augmentations we see in Overwatch. McCree's arm, things that are integrations of seemingly human biology in the human body with mechanics and electronics. Although Morrison may have had biomechatronic augmentations added to him later, it's important to differentiate that from the Soldier Enhancement Program. We don't specifically know whether these were part of it or not right now. The second clue we have is in Ana's Old Soldiers comic, where a quick conversation between Morrison and Ana reveals what may be a glimpse into the workings of the program. In the conversation, Ana says that Morrison is lucky to be alive as the two catch up as to what's happened in the years since Overwatch and since they last saw each other, and Morrison returns by saying his boss says that there was no such thing as luck, only good genetics. Ana says that he sounds like a bit of a jerk, and Morrison comments that he kinda was. Now, aside Ana's thoughts on the slightly sinister nature of Morrison's old boss's philosophy and thinking, it does sound a bit creepy, doesn't it? It's interesting to hear genetics raised here. From Morrison's quote, it sounds as though the Soldier Enhancement Program was perhaps genetically based in treatment. In our current world, there's a lot being done with genetics and medicine today. Now, I'm sure at some stage there will be a switch as our knowledge grows from treatment to the possibilities of enhancement, as the workings and purposes of more genes and our DNA are discovered. They will bring a lot of moral dilemmas. They're being dealt with already right now. It'll be fascinating to see what the Overwatch Soldier Enhancement Program did, if it's genetic therapy or enhancement, and morally, of course, how the public viewed it. However this program worked, what were the end results from it? Quite a few actually, all with long-lasting consequences for the Overwatch world. If we take a quick look at Overwatch history, the program is still technically classified today, but widely acknowledged and clearly known about in some form by the public, perhaps due to the public stature and big presence of some of its graduates. Morrison and Reyes, for example. America, like the rest of the world, was eventually able to overcome their local part of the Omnic Crisis, but whether this was due to the first Overwatch strike team's actions or any local success by the US in shutting down the Detroit Omnium has yet to be confirmed. The obvious consequence of this was really Overwatch. The Soldier Enhancement program brought together Jack Morrison and Gabriel Reyes, two friends who had worked together as part of the first strike team to end the Omnic Crisis. The small unit of 6 under Reyes' command would help bring peace to the world, and then be a key part of establishing Overwatch as a worldwide peacekeeping, scientific, and general force for good in the coming decades. However, this would also cause the two to become enemies eventually, apparently resulting in Overwatch's downfall. If the Soldier Enhancement program hasn't existed, maybe these two men would have never met. Overwatch's strike team may have failed. The day they met as part of the program was definitely a historic event for the Overwatch world. Last but not least, a proof of concept for this technology. This Soldier Enhancement technology succeeded, at least in part. Now, this is speculation. Morrison and Reyes seem to be successful examples of the program working. We don't know of any setbacks or failures, perhaps there were some along the way. It's a very rare piece of technology or scientific research or experiment that is perfect first time. Some of the science that went into Morrison and Reyes' treatment, though, must have been built upon in future. Now, what or how will be interesting to see. The story is told. Fast forward to today in the Overwatch universe, and the legacy of the Soldier Enhancement program is still present. First things first, the soldiers clearly still cut it in today's military world. We don't know how long between Morrison joining the army and the Omnic Crisis occurring was, but he has to be at least 48 years old. He could be a bit older. Morrison was 18 when joining the military, and the Omnic Crisis was 30 years ago. However old he is, he's still able to fight off hordes of mercenaries in Egypt, infiltrate top secret and heavily guarded facilities in the United States, take on gangs in Mexico, and more presumably. The Soldier Enhancement program's graduates, perhaps with a few separate upgrades along the way, are still very much a threat or an asset in today's landscape. Now, I find this interesting because, remember, regardless of Morrison's age, this is at minimum a 26 to 30-year-old technology in the universe. Regardless of the length of time, since the start of the Omnic Crisis was 30 years, and 30 years is a long time in medicine and scientific advances. In our history 30 years ago, there were big discoveries in the 1980s. Permanent artificial hearts, the MRI scanner, elimination of smallpox, kidney dialysis, DNA fingerprinting, the first defibrillators, human insulin being approved. Today all of these things are normal and widespread around the world. We've had cyborgs actually arguably in our world since 2004. Check out a guy called Neil Harbison, who has a sensor welded into his brain that lets him hear light frequencies. I can't do it justice in this video. Go and have a look. Amazing stuff. In 2016, we're potentially restoring use of limbs to people who've never used their arms or legs again with stem cells, landing on comets, and creating genetically targeted treatments, as well as giving vision to the severely visually impaired with sensors and technology. In our world, science can move so fast. My point is, in the near future of Overwatch, how much would Soldier Enhancement technology have moved on in 30 years? And, very interestingly, how could it react with new or present-day biotic technologies in the universe? Could this potentially explain, indirectly for example, why Reaper is the way he is? Thanks for tuning in to my summary of the Soldier Enhancement program in Overwatch's lore. Do let me know what Overwatch topics of lore, story or universe you'd like me to cover next in the comments below. Like if you liked, it really helps me out, and do share with any Overwatch fans you know who might enjoy. Cheers for tuning in, I'm Hammeh, take it easy.